In part 1, we witnessed Pablo Escobar's incredible rise from stealing gravestones to becoming the king of cocaine, earning $420 million weekly and controlling 80% of the world's cocaine supply. We saw his luxury prison, La Catedral, and his daring escape in 1992. Now, the most expensive manhunt in history begins. This is the story of Pablo Escobar's final desperate months as the world's most wanted fugitive. Downfall and death. The hunt for Pablo Escobar involved the DEA, CIA, Colombian police, satellite surveillance, and a vigilante death squad called Los Pepes. It became the most expensive and intensive manhunt in history, all to find one man. By the early 1990s, Escobar's empire was crumbling. The combined forces of the US, Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, CIA, Colombian National Police, and Interpol intensified efforts to track him down. Authorities intercepted his communications, used satellite surveillance, and even recruited informants from within his organization. The Los Pepes vigilante group, composed of his former enemies and rivals, also played a significant role in providing intelligence to authorities. On the 2nd of December, 1993, Escobar was finally located in a safe house in Medellin's Los Olivos neighborhood. A firefight ensued, and he was ultimately shot and killed while trying to escape across a rooftop. Some reports suggest that he was killed by police gunfire, while others claim he took his own life to avoid capture. Detailed exploration of key associates. Pablo didn't build his empire alone. He surrounded himself with some of history's most dangerous criminals: a flamboyant German who owned an entire island, a brutal enforcer called El Mexicano, and the Black Widow who pioneered motorcycle assassinations. Pablo Escobar's empire was not built alone. It was a collaborative effort with a network of ruthless and ambitious individuals who played critical roles in the Medellín cartel's rise to power. One of the most prominent figures was Carlos Lehder, a German-Colombian drug trafficker who revolutionized the cartel's smuggling operations. Lehder was the mastermind behind the use of small aircraft to transport cocaine from Colombia to the United States, particularly to the Bahamas, where he owned the island of Norman's Cay. This island became a key transshipment point for cocaine, allowing the cartel to evade detection by authorities. Lehder's flamboyant personality and love for fast cars and planes made him a larger-than-life figure, but his arrogance eventually led to his downfall. He was captured in 1987 and extradited to the United States, where he was sentenced to life imprisonment. Another key figure was Jose Gonzalo Rodriguez Gacha, known as El Mexicano. Gacha was the cartel's enforcer, responsible for maintaining order through violence and intimidation. He was deeply involved in the cartel's security operations, including the training of hitmen and the coordination of assassinations. Gacha's brutality earned him a fearsome reputation, but it also made him a prime target for law enforcement. In December 1989, he was killed in a shootout with Colombian police, marking a significant blow to the cartel's operations. The Ochoa brothers, Jorge Luis, Fabio, and Juan David, were also instrumental in the cartel's success. They handled the logistical and financial aspects of the organization, ensuring that the cocaine shipments reached their destinations and that the profits were laundered through legitimate businesses. The Ochoa family's connections in the upper echelons of Colombian society provided the cartel with a veneer of respectability, but their involvement in the drug trade eventually caught up with them. All three brothers were arrested and cooperated with authorities, providing valuable information that helped dismantle the cartel. Another notable associate was Griselda Blanco, known as the Black Widow. Blanco was one of the few women to rise to prominence in the male-dominated world of drug trafficking. She was known for her ruthless tactics, including the use of motorcycle assassins to carry out hits. Blanco had a significant influence on Escobar's early career, teaching him the intricacies of the drug trade. However, her violent methods and unpredictable behavior eventually led to her downfall. She was killed in Colombia in 2012, bringing an end to her reign of terror. Expansion of Escobar's hideouts and safe houses. Pablo's hideouts weren't just safe houses, they were luxury estates with private zoos, underground tunnels, and even Spanish colonial villages. His most famous, Hacienda Nápoles, was bigger than some small countries. Pablo Escobar's empire was not just built on drugs and violence, it was also built on a network of luxurious hideouts and safe houses that allowed him to evade capture for years. One of the most famous of these was Hacienda Nápoles, a sprawling estate located in Puerto Triunfo, Antioquia. The estate was a symbol of Escobar's wealth and power, featuring a private zoo with exotic animals, a fleet of luxury cars, and even a replica of a Spanish colonial village. Hacienda Nápoles was more than just a residence. It was a hub for cartel operations, with a private airstrip used to transport cocaine and a series of underground tunnels for quick escapes. Another significant location was La Catedral, the self-built prison where Escobar lived in luxury while continuing to run his empire. Located in the mountains of Envigado, La Catedral was a fortress designed to Escobar's specifications. It included a nightclub, a soccer field, a fully stocked bar, and even a jacuzzi. Despite being a prison, it was anything but restrictive. Escobar received regular visits from cartel members, prostitutes, and corrupt officials, allowing him to maintain control over his operations. However, when Colombian authorities attempted to move him to a more secure facility in 1992, Escobar orchestrated a daring escape, using secret tunnels to flee into the surrounding mountains. While on the run, Escobar and his family hid in the mountains. To keep his daughter warm, he reportedly burned stacks of cash worth $2 million in a bonfire. Escobar's final hideout was in the Los Olivos neighborhood of Medellín. This densely populated area, with its narrow streets and labyrinthine layout, provided the perfect cover for Escobar to evade capture. The safe house, where he was ultimately killed, was a modest two-story building, a far cry from the opulence of Hacienda Nápoles or La Catedral. However, it was here, on the 2nd of December, 1993, that Escobar's life came to an end in a hail of gunfire. In-depth analysis of Escobar's smuggling methods. Pablo didn't just transport drugs, he revolutionized criminal logistics. From submarines crossing oceans undetected to cocaine disguised as concrete, his innovations are still being copied by cartels worldwide. Pablo Escobar's success in the drug trade was due in large part to his innovative and highly efficient smuggling methods. One of the most significant advancements was the use of air transport. Escobar and his associates, particularly Carlos Lehder, pioneered the use of small aircraft, such as the Cessna 206 and the Learjet 23, to fly cocaine shipments directly from Colombia to the United States. These planes were often modified to carry larger payloads and equipped with advanced navigation systems to avoid radar detection. The Bahamas, particularly Norman's Cay, served as a key transshipment point, where the cocaine was transferred to smaller boats for the final leg of the journey. In addition to air transport, Escobar also utilized maritime smuggling on a massive scale. The cartel invested in semi-submersible submarines, which could transport large quantities of cocaine undetected beneath the surface of the water. These submarines were often built in secret shipyards along Colombia's Pacific coast and were capable of carrying up to 10 tons of cocaine at a time. Private islands in the Caribbean, such as Norman's Cay, were used as temporary storage and transfer points, allowing the cartel to evade detection by authorities. Land transport was another critical component of Escobar's smuggling network. Trucks and cars were modified with false compartments to conceal drugs, and cartel members often bribed border officials to ensure safe passage. In one particularly audacious scheme, Escobar sent an entire shipment of cocaine disguised as concrete for construction purposes. The drugs were hidden in bags labeled as cement, and the shipment was transported across borders without raising suspicion. Pablo's empire wasn't just built on drugs, it was built on corruption so vast it reached Colombian presidents and allegedly even CIA operatives. His ability to buy anyone, anywhere, made him more powerful than most governments. Political connections and corruption. Pablo Escobar's empire was not just built on drugs and violence, it was also built on a foundation of corruption and political connections. Escobar understood the importance of having allies in high places, and he used his vast wealth to bribe politicians, law enforcement officials, and judges. One of the most notorious examples was his relationship with Colombian President Ernesto Samper, who was accused of accepting campaign contributions from the cartel. Escobar also had connections within the Colombian National Police, where he bribed officers to provide him with information and protection. Internationally, Escobar's cartel had ties to various governments and agencies, including the CIA. During the Cold War, the CIA was involved in covert operations in Latin America, and there were allegations that the agency turned a blind eye to the drug trade in exchange for information on communist movements. While these allegations remain controversial, there is no doubt that the cartel's operations were facilitated by a web of corruption that extended far beyond Colombia's borders. Escobar's estimated net worth was $30 billion, over $60 billion today. Since banks wouldn't take his money, he stored it in warehouses, where rats ate an estimated $2 billion annually. Pablo Escobar didn't just control drugs, he held an entire nation hostage. Journalists, politicians, and police officers were assassinated daily. Colombia lived in terror of one man's wrath. Impact on Colombian society. The rise of Pablo Escobar and the Medellín cartel had a profound and lasting impact on Colombian society. The cartel's operations brought an unprecedented level of violence to the country, with bombings, assassinations, and kidnappings becoming commonplace. Journalists, politicians, and law enforcement officials who dared to speak out against the cartel were often targeted, creating a climate of fear and intimidation. The influx of drug money also had a significant impact on Colombia's economy. The rise of narco-capitalism led to the creation of new industries and businesses, but it also exacerbated inequality and corruption. The cartel's wealth allowed it to infiltrate every level of Colombian society, from the government to the judiciary, undermining the rule of law and eroding public trust in institutions. The social impact of Escobar's empire is still felt today. The rise of paramilitary groups, many of which were initially funded by the cartel, has led to ongoing violence and instability in Colombia. The country's struggle with drug-related violence continues, and the legacy of Pablo Escobar serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of the drug trade. Behind the ruthless drug lord was a devoted family man who would burn $2 million in cash just to keep his daughter warm during cold mountain nights. This paradox makes his story even more disturbing. Personal life and family. Behind the public image of Pablo Escobar as a ruthless drug lord was a man with a complex personal life. Escobar was deeply devoted to his family, particularly his wife, Maria Victoria Henao, and his children, Juan Pablo and Manuela Escobar. Maria Victoria stood by her husband throughout his criminal career, even fleeing with him during his final years on the run. After Escobar's death, she and her children changed their names and went into hiding, seeking to escape the shadow of his legacy. Escobar's brother, Roberto Escobar, played a significant role in the cartel's operations, serving as its accountant. After Pablo's death, Roberto was imprisoned and later released, and he has since written extensively about their life in the cartel. His memoirs provide a unique insight into the inner workings of the Medellín cartel and the impact of Pablo's actions on their family. Pablo Escobar died 30 years ago, but his legend grows stronger every year. Netflix series, Hollywood movies, and narco-tourism have transformed this terrorist into a pop culture icon. The most disturbing part? In some places, he's still considered a hero. Legacy and cultural impact. Pablo Escobar's life and crimes have had a lasting impact on popular culture. He has been depicted in numerous films, television shows, and books, which has brought his story to a global audience. While these portrayals often glamorize his life, they also highlight the devastating consequences of his actions. In Colombia, Escobar's legacy is a source of controversy. The rise of narco-tourism has seen tourists flocking to sites associated with his life and crimes, including Hacienda Nápoles and the Los Olivos neighborhood. While some see this as a way to confront the country's troubled past, others argue that it glorifies a man responsible for so much suffering. The ongoing influence of Escobar's actions can still be seen in Colombia's struggle with drug-related violence and corruption. His story serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the devastating impact of the drug trade on individuals, families, and entire nations. Thank you for watching Films Uncovered, where we explore the world's most puzzling secrets and untold stories. If you want more deep dives into real-life mysteries, disappearances, and unsolved cases, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to share your favorite episodes with your friends. Have a theory or a mystery you want us to cover? Let us know in the comments below. Stay curious, stay sharp, and keep your eyes on the unknown, only here on Films Uncovered.